I'm working on my millennial pause.
Okay, so wait, let's talk about the millennial pause. Because you looked up what it really is. I looked it up for like 30 seconds. That it exists. It's like our generation pauses before taking a video basically on like reels or whatever, like on Instagram or stories.
Right.
So
That's what I'm working on.
what's
So I guess it's yeah. So you can wait for the camera, make sure it's recording, and like you're looking good, and then you start talking. Because then you can edit it later if you want.
so but is the thing that older generations and then younger generations don't do it, but just millennials? Like
Oh no,
what's
then
the deal?
I just saw the Gen Z shakes. That's the generation just right above millennials, just a little bit older than us, and they like shake their phone, and then they're talking while it's shaking, and they're already recording, because I guess they're not used to the whole like digital video where you can edit it and delete it easy, so they just start going. I don't know, but it was interesting.
It's funny to think about that because like we're on the older side, I guess, of millennials, right?
Geriatric millennial is what I was called.
I guess we're on the geriatric side of millennial, which I feel that. But we grew up with definitely like a good amount of not advanced technology, certainly not cell phones. Like I didn't have a phone until I was in high school.
I had
Like
a pager when I was in high school. I'll be at the movies
that's so pointless.
on dates,
That's
and
so
I'll get
pointless.
pages.
That's the dumbest thing. I don't recall a single one of my friends having a pager. That must be like Dorkville.
It was awesome, and then I went
No,
over.
it's
Then
not.
then I had like some quarters, and I'd go over to the payphone, and I'd make my phone call.
Who would page you? Like literally.
Like my girlfriends or my parents.
You were at the movies and your girlfriends would page you. That's such a bullshit lie.
I was in the movies with my
lying.
friends. Like, and I don't have to go to the movies with your girlfriend every time, or I'd go somewhere else. I don't know. Like, and then my buddies could page me
No,
if I was with my girlfriend. Like,
stop. Nobody did that.
I did that. You think I'm just making this shit up?
I swear to God, nobody had pagers. That
I had a
wasn't
pager.
like. Then you're not even a millennial. Then you're fucking geriatric. Full
Yeah.
stop.
I'm a millennial, but I had a pager.
I have the Nokia, whatever, like with the worm game on it.
Well, I had that too, but like before that, you had a pager.
Anyway, the point is like, I do remember my mom's like huge camcorder, like the big giant video recording things, like all that kind of stuff. Walkman, like.
Mm-hmm.
you
Well, and then like the video I watched, like the lady was talking about how it's like becoming a social media strategy because, the whole part of social media is that if you're going to post something, you're trying to get somebody to stop and watch your video. So you're trying to stop the scroll, right? You've heard that term before. Like people are scrolling through mindlessly, and you try to get people to stop their scroll. So that's why you get the hooks or like the catchy thing at the top of your post, so people stop and watch. And they're saying like the millennial pause is like detrimental to your post because if you have like a opening gap where you're not doing anything or saying anything, you're pausing, waiting for the
too long onto the next.
just scroll. Like no thanks. Like even if it could be a second, and people are like nope.
Well, yeah, it probably is a second because it's like I don't even notice. I don't know if I'm looking forward to like, not looking forward maybe, but this week I'm gonna pay attention and just see like if I notice anybody doing it or whatever.
Because you notice like the way the scroll goes, right? Like when I'm picking out like a music for a reel or something like that, I need it to like immediately like catch your attention and it needs to immediately like be good, or it's like nope, see you later.
That's bizarre. It's such a crazy world that we live in with the social media stuff, and then like just optimizing it and hacking it basically, and just like trying to win it. But then again,
It's a game.
Is it a game or is it like them playing us as pawns?
I think it's interesting because it kind of comes back to, I remember when I first became a personal trainer, I didn't realize how much sales was involved in being a trainer. Like you actually have to market it yourself and sell to these people and close the deal and all this kind of stuff and get someone to actually pay you for your service. And that was like a thing I had to overcome. And my saying was, you cannot train what you cannot obtain. So like, even though you have good information, you're building value and giving someone a service that they need, you have to sell them somehow or else they're never going to get that service. So it's kind of the same thing with like, even though I'm very proud and like I put out good social media content that is valuable that people can use, I have to get their attention somehow first. So I have to like sell them on it so they can actually get this stuff and use it.
Oh, 100%. What's the other saying that I said recently was like, or that I heard recently was, nobody buys anything we get sold to.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's really true. Like we have like, the hierarchy of needs or whatever. We have our necessities. Like
right.
most everything that we buy, we're just sold.
Mm-hmm.
And now we are sold a lot of things on Instagram. It's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild, which fits into our topic today, that we'll go into in a little bit. But I wanted to close the loop too on a couple things. I wanted to catch up on personal life things since it's been a minute, but somebody was commenting, oh yeah, like I want to hear you guys close the loop on your sleep situation, talking about us and how we don't sleep in the same bed.
Yeah. I think this would be a good like hook too for people's like why we don't sleep together. People are going to immediately think sex, but we'll talk just about the actual act of going to sleep. Sorry, we got to pick up the dog.
Dramatic millennial pause.
Millennial pause.
Yeah, millennial pause for millennial dog.
The dog that's crying on the floor because he hasn't had attention in 30 seconds.
Squat hasn't made an appearance on the pod in a couple of episodes, so I'll make sure he gets in here.
Well, and he's part of this sleep conversation because he plays a big role of why we sleep in separate areas too.
Yeah, he does. And if anybody, and it's kind of a weird. It's funny because I did not have a good night of sleep last night, which you can actually probably hear my voice. I can hear it, just me kind of talking slow. But I think it's an interesting thing to talk about, and I want to talk about it because I feel like I think that it might be a rare thing, but who knows? Maybe people don't talk about it, and a lot of people don't sleep together, whatever. But Cody and I do not sleep in the same room, and we haven't now for 2 years? Was this when we moved to Florida?
It's been a year.
Yeah, I guess it's been a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, since
after we got married, yeah, like see you later. No more.
That's not really why. I mean, honestly, let's just like back up a little bit. When we met, we lived in DC and in smaller apartments and stuff like that, where we legitimately didn't have 2 bedrooms.
There was only one room at all.
Right.
We didn't have bedrooms.
Right. We didn't have bedrooms. We lived in studios. Like, we won't go into all that, but like, we didn't necessarily have the means to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and when we moved to Florida, we had a 2-bedroom condo.
Right.
And it was furnished and we had space, and we were both kind of working from home a lot. So it just we just started doing it. And I think, to your point, the other thing that happened alongside of all of that was when we had Squat basically crate trained for quite some time, which he still is crate trained. I don't think that he is not crate trained, because he does very well on the plane and his travel carrier and all that good stuff. But when we moved around a lot, we kind of got into some funky habits with Squat by accident, and just sort of eventually he ended up sleeping in bed with us instead of in his crate.
Not us.
It was us. Cody, he slept with us for a while.
Not very long, because I can't do it.
I know you can't do it. But like when we were at my parents' and staying there for a couple of weeks, that was like, and they only have like full-size beds or whatever. Mm-hmm. And we knew it was like, oh, hell no, I'm not sleeping with you plus a dog in like a full or a queen-size bed.
Right. So that's where it started.
That's kind of
that's where we stayed with them for like 2 weeks after our wedding, while we were in transition to move down to Florida.
Yes, and I slept with Squat because I didn't really mind it.
Mm-hmm. And I slept in my basement area.
And you slept in the basement area, and your own,
which is awesome.
You have your own little man cave down there.
I do. It's
TV
great.
And everything. Plus, if we're being honest, I'm comparing you and Squat, you're definitely way more annoying to sleep with anyway, because you tend to move around a lot. But anyway, once we had started doing that, it was like, oh, I'm sleeping awesome.
Right.
And it was like, oh, well, I don't know if I can ever go back.
Right.
And so when we moved down to Florida, and then since then, so getting married really had nothing to do with it. I think it just was all these different life transitions. We both ended up sleeping a lot better. And I think not just the sleeping part, but I like the wind down part too, where it's like you can kind of do whatever you want to do 30 minutes before bed, whether it's TV's on or lights are on or you're listening to a podcast or whatever. I like to listen to a podcast now before I go to bed, which I didn't do really before. Mm-hmm. But now I kind of like it. It kind of puts me to sleep, and I'll listen to something, whatever. That's just what I like to do. And you can do whatever you like to do.
Right.
And fall asleep whenever you feel like it.
And I think, like, for me, it's because I'm a restless sleeper. So when I do feel like that I'm keeping you awake by my restlessness, I get anxious.
Yes.
And then I can't relax, and obviously need to relax to go to sleep.
Yes.
So it keeps me up. So then it, is detrimental to my quality of sleep.
And I think that really keeps squat up, which then like
So
that was a
snowball
vicious
effect.
cycle. Totally. And so there's definitely that. And then the other part of it is like our day-to-day life. We spend a lot of time together.
All day, every day.
And so another like thing that we do right now that we've done now for literally years is share a car. We've never had 2 cars together.
Right.
Ever.
For a little bit.
Cody, that was literally like what, 3 weeks? I mean,
yeah, but we had no, a little bit longer than that, but whatever. Most of the time we've had one vehicle, at least since 2019.
For years we've had one vehicle. Again, we lived in places where we could walk or take public transportation. Some. And then others, it was like one of us was working from home. I know I started my nutrition coaching business in 2019. And so that was that. We worked at a gym together in Austin. We went there together or found other ways to get there. I remember scooting sometimes or taking a bike or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so we share a car, which doesn't mean we drive everywhere together, but it does mean that we sometimes what do? We consolidate our trips. We'll go to the grocery store together. We'll go to the gym together. Things like that. We work out separately, but we go together. Yeah. And now that we're doing the whole Cody Wescott golf fitness thing and podcasting and everything else that we've got going on, we do spend time together. So I think it's good that we have like that boundary of just separate time and alone time because it's important.
I mean, let's be real. Like I'm typically, we hang out in the living room until, an hour before I'm asleep. It sometimes less. So it's like it's a small time of the day. And then the other activities that people typically do in their bedroom are done other times of the day.
Oh, well, yeah, that's not a problem at all. And again, that's like an awesome thing working from home. Like you can and working for yourself. I'm not trying to endorse everybody that works from home to just like skip their meetings or whatever.
Well, I mean, I get why, couples would want to sleep together. Like if you have children, if you, if you work, in an office separately together all day, like, you haven't seen each other all day and you put your kids to bed and you got your hour, like in the bedroom together where you can, decompress and spend some time and stuff like that. But, it's not our life.
No, it's not. And again, I think it's important to just acknowledge, like, that's why I wanted to bring up the other things we have going on, because like for some people that's their alone time together or whatever. And that's totally cool. And I get that. Honestly, we would probably do the same if our life was a little bit different, but it's not. So that's like kind of what works for us right now.
I mean, the only thing I can think of is if some of those factors did like end up in our lives, we'd probably still want to have like, maybe we would probably create some kind of bed situation that the bed could be together for certain things, and then like the beds would be like apart, because
100%.
There is this like, not disturbing the other one while they sleep is really, really nice. And it goes both ways. You've woken me up before too. But I'm probably the bigger culprit. And then Squat is just, I can't be hot. He's a little furnace. He's stubborn. So he likes to be in that spot that he likes to be in. You roll, he gets even closer. He closed the space. You lost that space now. He's like an invading like military force that's like trying to gain more territory, and once he takes it, he's like doesn't give it back. So like that's it's a war that goes on in bed. And like when I had to put this, like when you're out of town and now he's like not sleeping in the crate, so like he sleeps with me. So like I had to like put this pillow and like there's our barrier, like you over there, me over here.
You have your own problems that night. I think you just have your own like internal. Now you're just like airing out all your demons. It's all the war movies I watch before I go to bed. But anyways, I'm like, hey buddy, I love you over there, daddy over here. See you later. It's amazing what a little fuzzy worm, how much space he can take up.
It takes up a lot of space.
I sleep in a king size bed by myself, and I do not use about 90% of it.
Yeah. Somehow he covers the whole king size bed. It's wild.
Well, we don't move.
And I've got like a fitted sheet that has like I've got a bed jet. So it's like this cold air that goes on in there.
Well, that's another thing too. Temperature control is a big one for a lot of couples. Mm-hmm. I think you and I actually, well, I don't know. I don't like the bed jet thing, but like I do like to sleep cold or whatever. Like that's definitely one of our sleep hacks.
Yeah.
And I noticed that like my sleep is so much better in the wintertime, just in general. I think a lot of people's are. We're just better to sleep when it's dark and cold.
Yeah, the bed jet's cool. I actually I like the chili pad better. So if you guys are listening, hook me up. But anyways.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's our story, and I think it's it works for us. I get really good sleep usually, except for last night, I guess. But
just sleep is so important, and we
yeah.
train hard, and we need our sleep, and when it's time to go to bed, it's time to get the best quality sleep you can, and for us, it's not with each other.
No, 100%. For anybody that has, that's curious about it, just try it. Like, worst case scenario, you don't like it or whatever, but try it. It just takes one night for you to realize it's like game changer.
Yeah, the vet called it sleep divorce.
Sleep divorce.
But whatever, it gets better sleep. I mean, I don't know. Like, we don't, like I said, like, it's just like there's nothing that goes on. Like, when we did sleep together, we went in there and went to sleep. There was no like party happening.
No parties.
There was no parties. It was bedtime.
It's bedtime. So, if you guys are out there and someone tries this, though, I do want to hear from people.
I mean, I saw a post on social media about it the other day, and people were talking about it. So it's not as uncommon as it used to be.
Which brings us into our topic for today, which is like, I'm sure there's a whole other side that's like, and I've seen these posts, and people are like, your marriage must be terrible.
Are you guys roommates now?
Yeah. Like all the shit, and it's like, oh, this is so blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, first of all, if you go back to the history of like why we slept together, it's like something about the Great Depression, not having enough space or beds or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, it literally had something to do with that. I don't want to misspeak, but I'm sure it really does have something to do with the fact now we're just so spoiled with space and luxurious sleeping situations and multiple bedrooms and blah, 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 blah. So it's like, yeah, guys, we're not in the 1920s anymore. We can like spread out.
Yeah, whatever the reason is and whatever the flip side is. Like,
there's always a flip side, guys, and that's what we wanted to talk about today, especially on social media, or specifically on social media, really, is that, and it really has to do with what we were just talking about too, is like the attention grabbing thing. It's almost evolved to a point where every topic has to have another side, and if it's not polarizing, then it's not going to get the attention of people. And so that's where we see the carnivore MDs and the liver kings and the people that are just so extreme in what they're doing, and they're religious about it, that it either, if it's garnering positive attention and followers, or even people that absolutely like hate follow or whatever people do, regardless, it's hate following is a thing. Hate following is a thing. Big time hate following.
I wonder if I got any of those. If you're a hate follower of mine, please let me know.
I mean, that's like a weird, pathetic thing, but people follow people just to like oppose them, or comment nasty things on them or whatever. And it's just like, but regardless, the people that are out there with these polarizing posts and polarizing content, they're getting views, and that's really like how you win the game of social media. And so I think it's an important thing to talk about, and I do see more people talking about it, and like I see creators that have been on social media for a long time that do put out good stuff. Like they'll explain too why sometimes they do catchy catchphrases, or will post like a quick clip of something that might not seem like something that they talk about, right? For example, like I follow James Smith. He's got like 1 million followers. He's a pretty like well-known fitness influencer in the space. He's really cool. He's got great content, but he'll still post like the catchy, like how to lose body fat in 5 minutes type stuff, even though that's not his philosophy at all, but like to grab your attention. But he'll also then follow up and explain why he does that. And I think it's an important thing to do, because people are always going to be reaching for the oh, that's attention grabbing, or oh, that seems like a hack, or whatever it is. And I think it's like what gets people going.
Right.
So.
And a lot of guys do that. Like what I see one of the guys doing the other day is like did a muscle up like on like a thick band, where they do like the medicine ball between the legs and like throw it up in the air and like catch it while like I'll do like a hanging leg raise. It's like, just to get people's attention. Oh,
like the catchy moves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, in golf, golf fitness is no exception. I mean, you put some exercise that's your first clip of your reel that's going to get someone's attention, and it is a little bit of what you kind of have. That's part of playing the game a little bit too, I guess.
It's the game, and so it's like from the business side of things, and we're seeing that now with building our business online, of like understanding how to optimize and when to push out content, what to push out, what the algorithm is loving, right? And we're learning too that changes on a weekly basis, literally like oh, it's this music today, or it's this length of content, or it's carousels, it's static posts, like blah, 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 blah. And so the consumer, I'm sure, people, I'd like to think that people are aware of that a little bit, but it's, again, like always important to have skepticism a little bit when you're consuming certain pieces of content. For example, like someone who is, I'm hardcore carnivore, and then like another person is like, well, I cured cancer being a vegan, and it's like, which one do I choose? And it's like, guys, like, you don't have to, there doesn't have to be a side that you choose.
Right.
Different things can definitely work for different people. That can be applied to any topic whatsoever. But ask the questions and like learn about the person that you're following. Look at their, look at all of their content. Look at their website. What are their credentials? What are they, how long have they been in the business?
Right.
Or are they just a really good content creator and they have sexy videos? Like, ask questions and be curious, because there are a lot of these people out there, and it blows my mind every time where I feel like, oh, I'm following in my bubble of people that I like to look at, and I know that they're smart and I know that they have good shit that they're putting out. But then you forget there's this just constant new people cropping up that have millions of followers, it seems like, that are putting out the bullshit.
Right.
So.
Yep. I mean, so like for example, I put out a video yesterday of me like talking about that the best exercise in golf or in fitness, the king of all exercises is the squat, right? And then people are coming out of the woodwork like to give me a hard time about it, like in DMs and on the comments and things like that. Like, well, this person said you shouldn't squat. And it's like, okay, well, that person says that, but then if you go look at like Mark Ripito, like he says squat like 3 times a week. And these are both professionals in their field. It's like I said, there's a contradicting thing for everyone. Like, you can be like, some carnivores like claim that broccoli is evolving to kill you. Like I read that in a book. I think it was the Carnivore MD, right? I think that was in the book. It's like that plants are evolving to like poison you. And it's like, what the fuck? Where's the shit coming from? Right. So it's just, for every action, there's a reaction or something like that. There's just both sides of every coin. There's an equal and opposite reaction. So like there's just so much shit out there, and you say things that like this guy was like, hey, I love your post, but this one isn't it. Talk about the squat. I was like, bro, have you followed me? Like I talk about the squat all the time. like most of my shit, like if there was like a like a diagram or something to show like how much percentage of my content is this and that, it's like the bigger majority of it is probably squatting.
Yeah, your pie chart would be like 99% squatting.
Yeah, so I was like, what are you talking about? Like, you love my post, but this isn't it. I was like, this is it. This is what I do.
My dog's name is Squat.
Yeah, like this is literally me. I've been doing this for decades. Like, I've been teaching people for like 20 years how to squat, over 10 like professionally in a gym, like getting paid for it. Like, and I've seen tons of success with it. Golfers, normal people, 80-year-olds, 8-year-olds, like, and for, there's coming out things now that say it's like not good for your spine. It's like, no.
Yeah. And again, like there might be people where it's not, right? Like, I think what people need to remember is that if there is somebody out there who is so absolute and speaking in absolute terms, that's a red flag.
Right.
It's not like veganism is bad. It's not like carnivore is bad. It's not like the squat is bad. It's not like not squatting is bad. Mm-hmm. There's fucking nuance. And anybody that's saying like, this is the only way to eat.
Right. Time
restricted eating, intermittent fasting, like deadlifting is bad. That person's probably just wants to get some likes and some follows and just, I don't know, what do they try to build? Like a cult following type of a thing. Versus someone who's just educating, which I feel like we do a great job of why is the squat important? Mm-hmm. Why is deadlifting good for you and actually helps strengthen your back?
Right.
Why wouldn't you do the deadlift? And here are some options or modifications not to, or whatever. I think it's just, that's again where we need to start asking questions and not just say, well, I heard this on the internet from one person, so why did they say that and you don't?
Right.
Like, it's like, well, because everyone has an opinion about everything, and we are all allowed now to, for basically free, post about it, for one. And for two, it's like, so now we as consumers need to be a little bit more just just maybe the millennial pause again. Like, take a pause.
Right.
Understand what it is that you're consuming. And it's okay if someone opposes your views. That's also totally fine. You're welcome to comment on it, I think, too. Obviously, we're free to do what we want to do, but you can still like a person and, in fact, get along with a person and even collaborate with someone. You don't have to agree with 100% of the things that they say.
Right. And like, then it's also, you know, your personal experience is not everyone's experience.
Yes.
Like, because you did something and it had a billion variables of how you did it, like how you slept, how you recover, what your genetics are, like whatever. And something negative happened to you doesn't mean it's going to happen to everyone.
That's right.
And the same thing on the positive, right? Like,
totally.
just because I've been squatting as heavy as I possibly can for the last 22 years doesn't mean that this guy next door does it and immediately fractures his L5.
Totally.
It's totally possible.
Totally.
You know? And just so, like, I don't run around saying things like from my personal experience all the time. I'm very, like, try to, you know, put it more out there as, here, I've seen hundreds of people do this. This is what,
right.
You know, this is what I've seen in real life work well for people in, like, mass quantities versus just what I've done for myself.
I think what'll be helpful in this conversation is to talk about things that we've changed our opinion on over the years, because we've been in this industry for long enough. And I think we both started out in fitness with really different methodologies and beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like, my beliefs have evolved a shit ton. Some things have stayed the same. Certain things around, like, mindset or whatever and pushing yourself. And I think some of those things are the same, but a lot of things change. Like, you know, we've talked about how much cardio I used to do and think that that was what was best for my body, which, again, maybe being competitive, that was one part of it, but didn't lift weights like I do now. And certainly didn't think that that was, like, the key to, like, a healthy body or a good looking body or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a big one. But the one that always comes to mind for me is, like, the days of, like, my yoga teacher training days and doing all of that stuff and doing, like, veganism and thinking that that was, like, a good way to eat, because I have Crohn's disease. I really used to think that food could heal your body, and I, like, didn't consume or take medicine for my fucking chronic illness for a really long time, because I thought, this was back in, like, the like Chinese medicine and all that started to, like, become really popular. What was that book, The China Method, or I can't remember the book. I'm sure people are out there like, duh, it's the whatever. All those books, like, started coming out. Mark Hyman and all his crazy stuff. He's, like, super extreme on some of his food things, which I won't get into, but it was all this, like, heal your inflammation in your gut and try all these different diets. And that's when I was like, oh, I'll do vegan, or I'm not going to eat gluten, or I won't eat meat. Didn't eat meat for a long time. A lot of the food stuff where I was like, I can heal myself. Fuck no, I can't. Like, like, that changed a lot.
Right.
Completely changed a lot. I eat way more meat and protein nowadays than ever before, and, like, lift all the weights and do all kinds of, like, total opposite things. And I'm saying this and sharing this because I think it's important to acknowledge when you, like, change your mind, and that it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to also go back and be like, whoa, I used to think of this way. I would have agreed with this person, and now I'm on the complete other side of that. Do you have anything like that?
I mean, throughout my fitness career, things I've just kind of evolved, and, like, now I'm, like, pretty much I've kind of, like, went off a certain way, and then now I'm, like, back to, like, what I used to do. So, you know, like, when I first got into it, it was all just, like, powerlifting and then bodybuilding. Granted, I never was really, like, a powerlifter or a bodybuilder. Those are just the workouts that I did. But then
you, like, made, like, weird protein shakes with peanut butter in them and stuff, didn't you?
Yeah,
when I was a bunch in the middle of the night.
Yeah, when I was young, yeah. Like, when I was, like, in high school, I would, like, wake up in the middle of the night and, like, have my protein shake next to my bed and choke it down and, you know, eat and try to grow my arms 2 inches in 2 hours and all this crazy stuff we used to do. Granted, that was a totally different reason. I just wanted to be big as possible. Like, I was small and I got picked on, and I was like, you know what, fuck this. I'm just gonna do everything I can to, like, get bigger. And then sure shit, like, that took, like, one summer because I was, like, a teenage boy. You know, I was, like, 14 years old. And next time I was like 15, 16. By the time I was 16, I was, like, 30 pounds heavier or something, and I didn't get picked on anymore. But anyways, that was totally different reasons. And then, flash forward to like my professional career, right? Like, so when I started training people at the gym, right, like it was all just like body composition really. So I was just kind of doing the same workouts that I had done for myself, but like cramming them all in for one person. That was like always the really tricky part. Is like if you only did one session a week with somebody, it's like, what the hell am I gonna do with this person?
Yeah.
One session a week, like all I know is like a 5-day bodybuilder split: chest day, back day, arm day. So it's like, what are we gonna do? Is it gonna be chest day with you? Is it gonna be leg day? Like, the fuck am I gonna do? Right. So
and most people train that way. I mean, there aren't many people buying 4-day-a-week personal training packages.
It took me like a couple, honestly, I would say it took me a couple years to figure out what to do with that once a week person.
Yeah.
That was hard.
Yeah.
That's probably your hardest person. And that person, from like the financial standpoint of that person, like they are spending, eventually, like when I worked at, it's $125 an hour, $150 an hour for that once a week.
Yep.
Something like that. Right. So, I think like to that person's pocketbook, right? Like they're spending as much as they can possibly afford. So that one session is super valuable to them. Right. And you've got to like bring your A game and figure out the best thing you can possibly do for that person in that 1 hour. Like, and be real, like how much results are you gonna get in one, and because if they're paying for that 1 hour, that might be the only workout they do that week.
Yeah.
How are you possibly going to get them results where they're going to see results, and the only thing you can possibly do is get them stronger?
Yep.
Like you're not going to change someone's body composition 1 hour a week. Like, so that just really had to evolve. And I think that's what kind of forced me into like, okay, what the fuck am I going to do? And you've got to learn how to really coach someone on doing compound movements. Like, what is the most bang for your buck that I can teach you in 1 hour a week? It's going to be squatting, deadlifting, a press, and a pull, or something like that. Like compound movements. Like, this is before golfers. Like rotation and mobility wasn't really like a big goal of mine. This is still like your general population people that I'm trying to get some results, and it's going to be strength.
Yep.
Right. So that's where I really dove deep into that's where my love of the squat really like blew up. Right. Because I had this great, like, kind of, we'll call him a mentor, even though like I hired him at Washington Sports Clubs. He was older than me, like really smart guy. Then he's like a Navy SEAL, like total badass dude, like knew how to train. He's like, this is what you should do. This is once a week. He's like, this is what I would have someone do. And I was like, stealing that. Thank you.
Yep.
and he was like, he was there to like give it to me. He was like, hey, I'll give you all this knowledge. Like, I just want to talk about it and share it. And I'm like, sweet, I'm taking it all.
Good.
So like that's what it became. Like, right, if you saw me like once or twice a week, strength. That's it. Because like that's all I can. I have the most control over that. I have zero because we also didn't do like nutrition. Like you weren't allowed to. Like that was like a company policy. Like, no, you don't do nutrition. So it was like, how strong can I get this person? How can I change their quality of life? And it's going to be through strength training and compound movements.
Yep.
And then we got into CrossFit, and then I got into, where we met in the group fitness, like, doing like Spartan races and doing a lot of cardio. But then, like always coming back, and this is so fitting for the post yesterday, like about the squat, like I'm always coming back to those compound movements.
Yeah.
So even though like I've branched out and like learned a lot of new things, like now I know that I train golfers specifically. It's so many multi-planar movements, rotation, power, speed, like so many cool different elements. But what's cool is that it still gets to come back to the basics. And those are still the best. And that's what I still preach and coach every day.
Powerful shit.
There we go. No, I mean, so yeah, so I never got like deep. I mean, we dabbled in CrossFit. I competed a little bit in CrossFit, like started doing Olympic weightlifting and stuff like that. And for someone who prides myself on being like pretty coordinated, like, and just how hard Olympic weightlifting is, that's when like I was like, okay, like, yes, on paper this would be great for golfers to do, but realistically, I've watched golfers move on the golf course and in the gym. There's not for the average person you see out on the golf course, look at their golf swing. Do you think that's going to turn into a beautiful looking squat clean into a overhead jerk? Yeah.
It takes long enough to learn. The squat itself is a complex movement.
Right.
I know that. It takes a long time to learn how to do that well.
Yeah. I mean, I got a guy I just trained a couple hours ago. Like, we're still like working on it.
Yeah. It takes time.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's also what's really cool about it too, is like, it does take time, and that's what makes it fun, is because you can kind of always be playing with it, working on it, progressing it, even if it's not necessarily moving more weight. We've talked about this: mobility going up, form getting better,
control, movement quality,
Yes.
like just all the
Yes.
stuff that is required. And you know, it gets a bad rap because, you know, I think everyone when they think squat and deadlift, they think like 1 rep max, crazy loads. You know, no, it's not what it has to be.
No, it doesn't.
Can it be? Sure.
Right.
If you're really good at it. But no, it can be tempo. We can work on certain phases of the lift. We can work on the concentric. We can work on the isometric, the hold at the bottom. We can work on lowering the weight down. So many different things you can work on besides how much weight can I possibly put on the bar. I like putting a lot of weight on the bar because I think it's fun. And I've done it for a long time. But, you know.
You don't have to start that way. No. You can, and that's the thing. That's you know, it can evolve in so many different ways. But learning how to do it and do it well is invaluable.
100%. I mean, and there's a million different ways to do all this stuff, right? Like you can split squat. Like if you don't want to make the load that heavy, we can split squat. You can do single leg deadlifts. Like, you know, then you can really take the load down. Or like if you're super worried about loading up your spine or something like that, there's so many different variables of things you can do to still get the results you want. And, you know, then you can build up to doing a heavy back squat or something.
Yeah.
And like, you know, in golfers, like I think this is what, you know, I was getting into, keep coming back to this post about this because I think it's really important, is if you were training previously to be like a bodybuilder or a power lifter, or, you know, especially if you're going to be competitive, you probably did like heavy squats and deadlifts like multiple times a week, right? Like if you look at a lift heavy swing fast program, I had athletes squat for 9 total reps yesterday in the entire workout. 9 total reps. That's it. Not a lot of volume.
Nope.
Granted, there was a 3-second pause at the bottom, so it's a little bit longer, but it's not a ton of volume. And the week before that, it was 15 total reps. So I'm not crushing them with back squats, even though maybe some of them should. But
that's for another day.
Another day.
Yeah, teaching people how to push and how to actually go to like 1 or 2 reps in reserve and not pussyfoot around the same weights over and over again, which we see a lot of in the gym. So
100%.
I think we should finish off with our what you're obsessed with this week, because that's what we're finishing off with these days.
Okay.
So
is that what we're officially going to call it? What you're obsessed with?
I like what you're obsessed with, and that's what it's going to be for right now.
Okay.
Until we come up with something better.
Until I make it more hooky, like that we're trying to like catch people's attention a little bit more.
I'm not really worried about that.
Because it's at the end too. So.
What are you obsessed with this week?
Oh, you're going to make me lead it off?
I think I went first last time.
Okay. Well, I might have 2, so like let me come back to one of them. One, okay. I really just want to say, because like, so we watch a lot of Dateline. Right? We just bought YouTube TV, mainly for like sporting events, but Dateline is what we watch because we like murder shows and things like that.
Yeah, we don't discriminate. I mean, we watch them all. Every murder documentary, every serial killer documentary on Netflix. We have literally seen it, if not multiple times. The first 48. Mm-hmm. I mean, but Dateline right now
we watch true crime. So Dateline is the one right now.
Current obsession.
And so I was just blown away, and I don't want this to be political, but I was just blown away by how different things are handled in the United States versus the most recent episode we watched where they were in Canada. And the United States, like these killers like get let loose. They're out on the streets. They're like, they can't catch them. There's certain like legal blocks to everything. You know, they can't like
or they just get out on bail for like $200,000.
They get out on bail. They do all this shit, and like somehow like they don't like, they're not like apprehended, and it takes like, it's like, oh, 2 years later we finally went to trial, and then we did this plea agreement and this and that bullshit. And it's like the episode we watched where they were in Canada, like they went on a plane, pulled this guy off the plane because he was trying to evade the country to come to Florida, you know, to get away, because he comes to the United States, he gets to go by our bullshit rules and like not get, you know, not get in trouble. But anyways, they pulled him off the plane, and then they set up like this whole undercover like crazy thing where it was like, hey, snitch on yourself, say this guy who is going to die of cancer in 2 weeks is going to take the rap for you. And, you know, the cops set all this up, right? So he, like, the guy who's dying of cancer is actually an undercover cop. So he tells this undercover cop, like, while he's wearing a wire, his whole story. So boom, they got this dude, you know? And like, that's just like also, and like the show was only like 45 minutes long, and these Datelines have been like 90 minutes in the United States. And like, look at these Canadians, they just kicked this dude's ass.
Yeah, so the difference is, like, let me just try to summarize. Like, the difference, what I saw was like, they came up with a sting operation, basically.
Yeah, quickly.
They outsmarted him and how quickly they moved. Like, the passport thing happened in like a day. They literally were able to be like, oh, well, we have to apprehend him because of illegal documents on getting his passport. Great, done. Execute, done. Boom. It was like a couple weeks. This guy was like in jail or whatever.
Yeah, and he's in prison for the rest of his life.
Versus like in the U.S., it's like, we had to contact AT&T for cell phone records, and it took
3 months.
years.
Yeah.
Like, literally, like, and it's like paper. You see them get in, like, these paper fucking documents.
Yeah, like recently. Like,
like
this is like 1987.
No, but like how America is that?
Yeah, it's like, this is
AT&T's
bullshit.
like, we'll fax them over to you. And the cops, like, wait for weeks, you know? Yeah. And then, like, also, like, similarly, like, we'll see, whatever the tox reports or whatever, toxicology reports take weeks.
Yeah.
Take weeks, or they have to mail something down into Virginia where all the secret FBI crime labs are. That takes months. Like, and again, meanwhile, these robbers or these murderers, not robbers, are out on bail because they only had to spend $200K to get out on bail. So it's been 3 years that they're just out with like no ankle bracelet or anything, just like living their life, riding their bikes.
Yeah, murdering more people.
So obviously, again,
Canadians just.
So this might be a little N of one though for us too. We obviously are just comparing like that one episode to like, I'm sure Canada has its problems.
If there's a full Canadian Dateline, we need to find it because I want to see just how quick these Canadians just get shit done.
It was like those detectives were different. Like it was unreal to watch. I might have to just kind of piggyback on yours actually because I think that's a really good one. No, but seriously, that I agree. I think that I think Canada has us beat for sure with just how they got that operation handled. I don't know if it's funding. I don't know what it is, but I think we just have so much red tape here. And then like the state line thing sometimes can be wonky in America too, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's wild. I don't know. I thought that was just like, because now when we turn on the TV and I think about that again, I'm like, damn, those Canadians just kicked ass.
Yeah, they did. They did. They totally did.
And I don't think they're known for that kind of stuff, but
no,
they got it done.
They did. They did. Well, that'll be our obsession for the week. Did you have something else?
I kind of wanted to talk about the live event we're going to go to on Sunday.
Yeah, we're going to go this weekend.
And I kind of want to give like my little 2 cents about live, which I think is kind of a sketchy topic to get onto, but
have at it.
So like, I don't really, let's put the politics aside. I'm just going to talk about just the golf itself. Like, watching it, I haven't been that excited by watching the actual golf, right? Like the shotgun is a little confusing. Like, they're all over the place. Like, you don't know, like when you watch the final few holes, it's a little like, messy.
Well, it's confusing for you because you're used to them going from like one hole to the next versus you're confused because
I'm not confused because I understand what's happening. I just don't, it's just not like organized. Like, you don't really it just doesn't flow how it should, in my opinion.
Do you think how they're broadcasting it could be
different?
Yeah,
and then like it just looks really gimmicky with all the colors and stuff on the side. I don't know. I just want to see I like golf being the old fashioned. Like, I like to go out there and play and be quiet and just play my round. But anyway, when we post about it, or I don't know if I'm gonna post some pictures of when we're there on Sunday, because it's here in Tulsa. Technically it's in Broken Arrow, but at Cedar Ridge, of course I used to work at a little bit, but it's going to be interesting. I still want to go out there and watch because, there's no doubt that those guys are still some of the best golfers in the world. And I still want to go watch them hit golf balls and play the game of golf. I don't know if I post something and people are going to give me shit about I can't believe you're out there, supporting Live or whatever it is. But, at the end of the day, I don't put the politics aside. I just want to go watch some of the best players play golf. I know people don't really care about my opinion about it. I really don't care about other people's opinion about it. I'm just going to go out there and watch good golfers play golf.
Oh, fuck that. Yeah, we're going. It's in our backyard. Literally, we live 5 minutes from the course. Mm-hmm. And I love watching golf live. It's fun. I've never been to a live tournament. I have a completely different standpoint because I'm not a traditional golfer or whatever. I just came into the sport a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. Live sports are fun to go watch. And it'll be cool to go get to see. And obviously, a couple of my favorite players play in the live tour.
We know you love Brooksy.
I love Brooksy. I'm also a Phil fan. I've never seen either of them play live. Even though we've been to 3 or 4 different PGA tournaments, mm-hmm. Never got to see either of them. And I'm looking forward to that. So, whatever. It'll be cool. There'll be music and we'll be able to wear whatever we want. Not that you can wear whatever you want on the PGA, I guess, but it'll be just different. It'll be cool.
I think there's concerts at the end of it too.
Yeah, there's probably all kinds of stuff.
I know Lainey Wilson's playing one night.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, she's country. She's good.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure if it was in someone else's backyard, they would want to go too.
Right.
But whatever. That's what we're just gonna live our best life.
And there's a lot of Oklahoma guys playing.
Yeah.
Like Taylor Gooch,
right.
Matthew Wolf, Abraham Answer.
So that'll be really cool to go see.
Oh, Jackass! I'm forgetting them, but whatever. There's a lot of OSU and OU guys playing.
We'll report back too on how expensive the concessions are in comparison.
Tickets weren't crazy.
Tickets
they were
crazy.
like
they're $50 each.
$50 each versus
Sunday.
What did we pay when we went to the BMW last year? $130 each.
Did we?
Yeah, it was expensive.
A person?
Yeah.
Wow. Damn.
Yeah.
I mean, it was cool.
Granted, that was a playoff game, but I mean, just what was it? We thought about going down to match play, and what they want, like $120 a ticket.
Yeah, something maybe $150. We volunteered for that, so that was nice. The first time we didn't have to really pay much.
Yeah. But yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to that this weekend too. I'm glad that it's finally summer/spring/ better weather, so we can get out and do the things. But yeah, lots of things talked about today in our podcast, which I'm sort of here for the hodgepodge of things that we went over. Some important stuff.
It was fun.
It was fun. Thank you guys all for listening. Don't forget to tune in next week. We are always here every Wednesday at 12 p. Central. No, 12 p. Eastern, 11
There you go.
A. Central. It's always hard.
Do you want to go around like it'll also be
It's the last
10 Mountain Standard Time?
They used to do that
9 if you're in California.
I'm tired. I want to go get some good sleep tonight. / maybe caffeinate a little bit more. Anyway, that's it.
Speaking of caffeine, I figured you would talk about the ghosts.
I'm going to talk about ghosts next time. I talk about food every single time, which is fine. That can totally be my thing. Some sort of food and beverage is fine with me. Everybody say bye to Squat. We will see you next week, and goodbye.
Say bye, Squat.